Hi, I'm John DeVore. Welcome to the channel. I am back from Expona. As I've said in many videos, Expona is just outside of Chicago in scenic Schaumburg, Illinois. It is the biggest hi-fi show in the US, and it's the only hi-fi show we DeVore Fidelity currently does as an exhibitor. So that means that I rent the room. I am fully responsible for whatever is going to go in the room. I do all the setup. We pay for it, etc., and so on. This year, as I spoke about in the last video, I think these are pretty tiny, pretty shitty sounding hotel rooms, and so this year I had hoped that the Oh Baby and the Micro would be back in production, and they are not going to be until at the earliest sort of towards the end of this year. So I said, what the hell, let's go for it. And I borrowed the O reference system from In Living Stereo. Thank you, Steve. And I borrowed a stack of Nagra gear from my dealer Resolution AV. Thank you, Adam and Scott. And put the show on, and it went beautifully. We managed to get the O reference system to really sing in that small little room, and I think the show attendees loved it. It was a great response, really good traffic, really, it was a great crowd. Absolutely went beautifully. So thank you to everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you to also Renee from Nagra. Renee from Nagra US or Nagra North America was there backing up the gear and backing up Adam's loaner equipment. Thank you also to Axis. They stepped up, gave me an awesome phono section, Phasmation, gave me a couple of great cartridges. The super cool Japanese Yuki turntable, which was awesome. Glans, tone arms. Thank you so much to Brent from Axis for coming in and yeoman's work getting that analog front end dialed. Thank you so much, Cliff and Steve Huntley from Axis. So many people. Also, Arturo from Koetsu came through in the end with a beautiful cartridge. We used that beautiful Koetsu Yarushi cartridge in there, all on that beautiful box furniture rack that we brought last year. It had records in it, really trying to bring that sort of monkey house vibe to Schaumburg, Illinois. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you to so many people made that room really, really sing. It's always amazing to see all of my good friends in the hi-fi industry at these hi-fi shows. It's a huge part of why I do it. I love meeting I love meeting customers, but it's also it's amazing to see these people who I only really ever see at hi-fi shows. So that was amazing. I knew I wanted to do a record review when I got back because I have been so distracted. So the couple of months prior to any hi-fi show, but especially a hi-fi show, or prior to any event, but especially a hi-fi show that I am exhibiting, the few months leading up to that is always massively stressful. Not only accumulating all of the equipment to make sure that everything is going to be good and correct and sorted when we get to the place to do the installation, but also picking out demo music. I always try to bring at least I try to bring a decent percentage of new music every time I go. I don't want to just play the same tracks over and over and over. So a lot of the listening that I'm doing before I ship everything off to a hi-fi show is listening for demo tracks and things like that. So it's definitely not the same as listening for enjoyment and pleasure, which is what I like to do, which is what we all like to do, isn't it? Is it not? So now I'm back. The show is in the books. and I get to listen for pleasure again, and it's wonderful. The first record that I that I picked and put on the turntable is the one that I'm going to talk about today. I also wanted to talk a little bit about, so also a hi-fi show because I'm selecting the gear and everything. So I had Nagra stuff here, I had Phasmation stuff, I had a lot of gear here that I was testing and putting together and making sure that it was going to work well in the room at Expona. And as I've said also before, my EMT preamp was down for a number of months. It's back up and running, and it's wonderful. It's great to have it back. But it got me thinking about vintage equipment. So one of the guys who came up and said hi to me at Expona was actually the guy that I had most recently bought a piece of used gear from. So I bought a Pioneer M22 power amp. So an M22 power amp is a very cool, very unique looking 1970s solid state power amp running. It runs in pure Class A. I think it's 20 watts per channel ish, 25 maybe. But it's sort of all exposed. It's fully dual mono, so there's two power transformers. There's a couple of big power supply filtering caps, and then there's a couple of big heat sinks. And it's all sort of exposed on this really cool aluminum plinth. It's a beautiful, in my opinion, it's a beautiful piece of hi-fi equipment. It sounds beautiful. Anyway, so this guy came up to me and he was like, "So, how's the Pioneer sounding?" And I was like, "Huh? I'm at a hi-fi show. I'm meeting hundreds of people." And he's like, "The M22, you bought it from me." And I was like, "Ah, yes, the guy in Queens." And I love it. So the first thing I did when I came back is I pulled the Pioneer M22 out, connected it to another piece of 70s hi-fi gear that I have here at the moment. So when my EMT preamp went down, I have two usually decent preamps with phono sections that I can put in there as a substitute. So one of my favorite of those backup preamps is my Mark Levinson ML7. And the ML7 is essentially, so John Curl designed a preamp for Mark Levinson back in the 70s, or the very beginning of the company, and that became the JC1 or the JC2. That became the JC2. The JC1 was a moving coil step up gain stage. So that became the JC2. The JC2 was a beautiful 2-channel preamp. John Curl left. John Curl couldn't deal with working with Mark Levinson, left the company, and so the JC2 became the ML1. JC John Curl became ML Mark Levinson, but it was still the John Curl circuit. Then it became, legend has it that one of the Asian distributors for Mark Levinson said we could use a crazy, no compromise version, dual mono, so that the left channel and the right channel are completely separate all the way from the power supply all the way to the chassis. That became the ML6, but it was still essentially the circuit from that ML1. And then a more rational and usable version of that became distilled, and that became the ML7. And at this point, Levinson's main engineer, Colangelo, was sort of contributing to it, and while it was still essentially the John Curl circuit, it was now sort of Curl and Colangelo's collaboration. Mark Levinson isn't a designer. He doesn't design any of his stuff. He, if anything, he sort of conceives of it, curates it. Certainly, I'm sure he's a very careful listener, and so I'm sure he has a lot of input in what the final result is going to sound like. But these are not his circuit designs. So I have an ML7, which I love, but which is noisy in one channel. Too noisy to use with anything that's like a real high gain amplifier. And it's heartbreaking, but I will have it fixed. However, one of the inspirations for me getting that ML7 is a good friend of mine has that crazy ML6, which is, as I said, it is two completely separate chassis, each chassis, left and right, completely powered by a separate outboard power supply. it is so crazy minimalist. So the ML7 has 2 tape loops, multiple line inputs, phono, balance controls. It has, it's a very full function preamp. The ML on which it is based is not. It has 2 knobs on each of the chassis, left and right. One knob on the far right side is nothing but a volume control for one of the channels. And the other knob on the opposite side, on the far left of the chassis, is a 3-position switch. So positioned up, it is essentially in mute. It means that the switch is not connecting any of the inputs. And then you click it 1 click counterclockwise and you're in the phono section, and 1 click clockwise and you have the line stage. There are no tape inputs or outputs on it. There is 1 line input and 1 phono input. That's it. It is hilariously minimalist / maximalist. I love it. And man, it sounds good. It is just delicious sounding. This is my friend's. I am hi-fi sitting it while he is out of the country. Thank you to him. Thank you, Spencer. But it's a joy. It just sounds so good. It is very quiet. The moving coil phono section is exquisite sounding. Sounds fantastic on a bunch of the cartridges that I've fed into it. And so what I'm going to play you the record that I'm going to talk about. I am going to play you through my 1970s high-end hi-fi electronics. And the record that I'm going to talk about is rooted in the 70s. So it is Root70. So it's Nils Wogram. He's German, so maybe it's Wogram. So Nils Wogram, who is a fantastic trombone player. And this is one of his many groups called Root70. I believe this is his most recent. I believe this is Root70's most recent release, the pristine sound of Root70. Root70 means that the band has its roots in the 70s. All 4 members of this band were born in the 1970s, appropriately enough for the gear that I am going to play this through. This is jazz. This is of the groups that Nils Wogram maintains. I would say this is the most non-experimental of his groups. It is really excellent post-bop jazz. Very straight ahead, melodic, beautiful, just delicious. The recording itself is exquisite. It's beautiful sounding, as those of you who are paying attention can tell. It has a pink post-it on it. I think, you know what, I'm going to play the chill. I'm going to play Beatrice's Rituals. I'm going to play the chill opening track. But everything on here is great sounding. Everything on here is a pretty delicious piece of music. And it is so nice to be back. Orville is lying in my lap. He's very happy to see me as well. And Wilbur is right on the other side of the camera, also chilling out. Wonderful to be back in Brooklyn and to see all of you guys. Thank you for watching. I will see you at the next video. Bye.